What is special about Delmar to you?
Delmar's very special to me because, number one, I graduated from high school here. Number two, my grandparents were the Methodist minister and his wife years ago, and my mother graduated from here, and my uncle graduated from here, and then the families moved away, and then eventually, years later, my parents bought a farm and around just west of Delmar, and I went to school at Elwood through the 8th grade, and then I came to high school at Delmar, and I graduated in 1957.
What is your name?
My name is Janet Trekel.
How has Delmar changed over time?
Oh my honey, Delmar has really changed through the years. We used to have many more businesses in town. We used to have a hardware store. We used to have a couple of grocery stores, a couple of very active bars, and they had restaurants in the bars. So when I was in high school, after a basketball game, and if we won, everybody got to go down to Whitey's and that was the bar. And we used to be able to buy sandwiches and have pop and treats and what have you.
How important is the school to Delmar?
Well, I think if the school was out of the city of Delmar, there probably wouldn't be a city of Delmar. It is the, can't think of the word I want to use, but it's everything evolves around the school. All the kids, and there's kids' activities, and if they didn't have that, they would have no reason to come to Delmar for anything. It's the school.
What makes you stay in Delmar?
Well, I do not live in Delmar. I live in Makokata. But I'm very active in the Delmar Lions, and I come to activities here in Delmar. I come to school activities in Delmar. I, on occasion, come to the Methodist Church in Delmar. I used to have a boyfriend that lived in Delmar, and so consequently, somebody's laughing at me. I did a lot of things here in Delmar.
What would you tell someone thinking about moving to Delmar?
If someone asked me about moving to Delmar, I would tell them that they have an excellent school system. I would also tell them that it's a loving community and an active community, and everyone who lives in Delmar seems to support every activity at the school, and they have a wonderful fire department. I understand they have some sort of a library, public library, I believe, or trying to accumulate enough books to open a little library here in Delmar. But I would move to Delmar if I had the opportunity. I did have years ago, but it was the time that the real estate market was not good, and I couldn't get the house, so I ended up in Makokata.
What brought you and your family to Delmar?
I guess basically my father. My father bought a farm, so consequently we moved to Delmar, and my mother taught here for years and years and years. She also taught in Elwood, and when the schools, she taught in Elwood for a number of years, then she came to Delmar and taught. And she retired in 1979.
What memories do you have about Delmar?
Mostly high school memories. Basketball. That was what I was active in, choir, and ball, softball, band, just everything that had to do with the school.
What was life like in Delmar when you were growing up?
Life in Delmar was a little different than it is now. We had a dance hall down by the railroad station. When I was little, quite young, my uncle would come from Colorado, and we would meet him down here at the station. That was kind of fun, exciting to do. Used to have dance hall in Delmar. Again, it was everything involved around the school. and the church. There just isn't much else in Delmar, unfortunately. We'd like to get something going in Delmar. Would be fun. If you were a child, what would you like to do? Roller skating rink.
Yep.
See, got it. We need a businessman to put up a roller skating rink in Delmar.
Yep. What would you like to see change about Delmar?
A new roller skating rink. How about that? No, I don't think there's. We like to still have the center be the high school, the school, whether it be a lot of the school activities. I think that's great. It's a safe community and a supportive community.
How has many of the buildings and areas changed?
Well, some of the buildings are gone. Some of them the wind blew away. Some of them the fires have taken down. There used to be down by the library, or not the library, excuse me, the post office, there used to be a building that's just recently burned to the ground. It used to be a church and a hall for the Masonic lodges. Just as years go by, buildings do deteriorate and they have to take them down. And there hasn't been, there's a whole new development north of town and a little bit west of town, down by the bank. That's new housing, and I would like to see that continue.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm retired. I worked from the time I was 13 years old. I worked in a grocery store, and I worked until I was 70. Well, I just retired in 1970, I guess, 7 years ago. And I moved back to Maquoketa. I lived in Minnesota for many, many years, and I moved back to Maquoketa to take care of my husband who was ill and my parents. And I was only here for about a month when my husband passed away. And then my mother died that fall. And then I stayed around and took care of my dad till he passed away too. I come from a long line of livers. They all lived to be quite old. 95, 97, 97, and 99.
What is or was your favorite job that you held in Delmar?
Well, I never did work in Delmar, but when I lived here, I did work in the grocery store in Maquoketa and the courthouse, and that's where I got my love for figures, and I was accounting and that kind of thing. I worked for the treasurer's office, and that's where I became interested in what I ended up having a full career.
Can you tell me about the street you lived on?
I did not live in town. I lived on the highway, on Highway 61, out by which is now the Four Corners, on the way into Maquoketa. And I wanted a bicycle so bad. Oh my goodness, I wanted a bicycle. All my friends had bicycles, but my father said, no, we live on the highway and there's trucks and there's all that traffic and you're not going to have a bicycle, because my best friend lived up the road and he knew I would be on that bicycle going up to visit her. So I never ever got to have a bicycle, and I still do not know how to ride a bicycle. I tried a couple times when my girls were growing up, but I never did accomplish that feat. I have 3 daughters, 17 grandchildren, and 17, no, I'm sorry, I have 5 children, 10 grandchildren, 17 great-grandchildren, and 7 great-great-grandchildren. I know, I'm just too young for that, but it's true.
Did you walk to school as a kid?
Yes, I did. Not when I lived here around Delmar, but before I moved here, I lived in a little town called around Bryant, Iowa, and it was a little country school. south of Bryant, and it was called the 10 Mile House, and that's where I started school. And I would either walk in the mud or ride the horse because the roads were nothing but mud, and my dad would put me on the horse. I was real short. My dad would set me on the horse, hit the horse in the back end, and away I go. And the 8th grade boys would be there at the yard or at the school, and then they'd help me down off that horse and take the horse to a covered shelter area until school was out. They'd help me back on the horse, hit me, away I go, and I go home. Otherwise, I did walk.
Why do we still have the jailhouse down by the post office?
Why do we still have it? I suppose, I don't know, to tell you the truth, I don't have any idea. I suppose if we have somebody, I don't think they even use it anymore. I don't know anything about the jailhouse other than it's there. And it used to be quite a thing. We'd tell everybody that we had somebody in the jail, and we really didn't. Sunday night dances, everybody started a rumor, there's somebody in the jail, and then we'd go see if there was anybody at the jail. It was just a fun thing to talk about.
Finally, who is your favorite superhero?
I don't have a superhero. Not one. I have 3 grandsons, great-grandsons. They're all superheroes. They all wear everything that there is. I don't even know who all their names are, but they're all superheroes. Batman, and I don't even know what all those. I just get pushed to that aisle, toy aisle, and it tells me all these things that they're interested in. But they don't have a superhero. I guess my husband's were.
What do you want Delmar to be like and look like in the future?
Oh, I'd like Delmar to look like and grow. Like a couple of new businesses to come to town. We have a new one, I understand, a new appliance store. But there needs to be more. It's difficult because we're so close to the Quad Cities and so close to Maquoketa, which has the Walmart. I think if Maquoketa didn't have the Walmart and Delmar did, Delmar would grow. I don't know what else. I have no idea what they could put up here in the Delmar that would maybe some sort of small business, little factory of some sort.
What is special about Delmar to you?
I think I answered that already. Delmar's special because of the school, and it means a lot to me because it's family traditions.
Did you have any businesses or people that you knew
Yes,
who run businesses?
I didn't. All the people who ran the businesses were all friends because we're a small community, so we all knew who exactly they were, who owned the bars and who owned the grocery store, and like I said, my mother taught school here, so and my grandpa and grandma were the minister and his wife many years, long before I was born, but there were a lot of people here. And then when I moved to town, my grandma would talk about certain people, and I knew who they were. And in fact, this is just a little interesting thing. I moved back to Maquoketa in 2003, and while I was down at McDonald's one day having coffee, this gentleman approached me, and he was quite elderly, well into his 80s. And he said, "Are you a Gartman girl?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Didn't your grandparents, weren't they the minister at Delmar?" And I said, "Yes." And so he proceeded to tell me all about my grandpa and grandma, things that I had no way of knowing because my grandpa was dead many years before I was born. And he proceeded to tell me all about how he and my grandpa used to go rabbit hunting when they didn't have any guns. They didn't have guns, and if they had guns, they didn't have any ammunition. But he talked about my grandpa would walk along, he was a very tall gentleman, then walk down and walk real slow and go down into the rabbit hole and bring the rabbit up.
That's kind of like what the story that we're reading, Shades of Grey, with this one kid. It's after the Civil War took place, and all of his family died except for his aunt and uncle. So he went to his aunt and uncle's, and he had slaves to do work for him, and then so he was just figuring out the new way of life.
Very interesting. Yeah, good thing. Good thing to keep in touch with those roots. It was fun to visit with him.